now it's obvious we should talk about T1 because
Yes,
Raw. Listen, we talked on the last episode. They weren't even that dominant against IG. And you look at this. I'm going to do the draw thing again, Yamal. Get ready. Right, first round, FlyQuest. I know people are going to cope for FlyQuest. They could be good, though. I'm sorry, if you're T1, you want to win Worlds. That's a win. That's a win right there to be your one. Then you get CF4. That's another win. I know they're a decent team. That you're going to try to be the world champion. That's 2 lives already. No, that's 1-1. Already the warning signs are right there, Mix. I'm sorry. At this point in time, like, the Hong Q guy can go with Old Man Faker, mate. He can step in that ring and he can dance. Then you've got Genji, like, fair enough. Even though you're actually the only team in theory who should be able to beat Genji, you haven't done it recently. They're better than you. You're allowed to lose to Genji. Everyone's allowed to lose to Genji. Then you get 100 Thieves. I'm sorry, on paper, that's an auto win. They weren't supposed to be at Worlds. And then the last one is MCoy, who we've just spent like 20 minutes saying it might have to change the whole roster as Marvin capped out. Like, this is like a pretty easy draw, bro. I'm shocked this went all the way to the length. Like, what's happened to T1? Give me your thoughts. What's wrong with T1? If we go back in time a month ago, aren't they like the second best team in the world?
It's very strange. I think the main issue is just on an individual level. Like, nothing is really clicking because, like, draft wise, I don't think there's definitely things to like criticize, like the Genji one, for example. There's like CFO had like a really good meta read, so you can argue with like giving them Scion and all that jazz might have been a mistake. There was the Kiana as well, that is primarily like an LCP / LPL pick that they had to catch up on. But the 2 wins against the series against 100 Thieves and also Koi, even though they were wins, they were like really, 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 really below standard.
Agreed.
And the odd part for me is I thought coming into this year, Keria and Owner, I thought that they had really, really leveled up their floor in terms of being able to play a wide range of champions. Because now it's like people are looking at this and people are saying, well, it's like, oh, Keria's playing melee champions. This is something that he doesn't do and shouldn't do good. Other years, I would agree on T1, but not this year. This year, Owner and Keria had that synergy down and they play a very side lane centric game. And now that Faker is performing, it should be even easier. I understand that Doran's underperforming by the standard he set in spring playoffs and MSI. That's something fair to say. But Keria is the player that you expect to be like. I expect him to come into this tournament and be the best super in the world.
Every time they've ever won Worlds, he's been the best.
And it wasn't even close.
I know.
Yeah. And it wasn't even close. And this is, he's supposed to be the weapon in Fearless. And sure, like people are targeting him with Bard bans and Poppy bans, and that's fine. But this never mattered for Keria. Like he managed to like piece it together and figure it out. And Owner has had some good games, like the back end of the IG series. I think he's had some games that were good. Faker has been by far the best performing player, and it's too similar to 2017 after winning 2 world championships, and you walk into 2017, it's just way too similar. I like looking at the team. It's like they have complained about like health issues and these type of struggles, but I thought that was like a part of that's just a part of the world championship. And I always thought that T1 is the team that is like resilient and makes it through. Because looking back at the previous world championships, that best of 3 that led them into the quarters was always the series that's like, oh damn, they look kind of good. And I think the main thing here for T1 is the saving grace that is the scheduling. They're playing the last quarterfinals, which means that AL get even a longer break, and T1 gets a lot more time to kind of reassess and figure out where they are. And this is where the experience kicks in. And I think that T1 still, I have faith in the idea that they will figure it out, because they've had slow starts in the past too. Like 23, they lost to Genji in the BO1. And then they made the bounce back by switching up the meta and beating Bilibili for the best of 3. In 24, I remember like that, like even that same 23, I remember like their Team Liquid series, or in 24, they lost to Top Esports in the group stages. And everyone thought, oh, Top Esports, big chokers. Yeah, they lost to Top Esports, and then they 3-0'd them later down the line. And I think just the best of 5 dynamic, a new venue, some time, I think will be very healthy for them. But there will be a time where it stops. And I do think that AL is playing against T1 at the best possible time for AL, where T1 is looking like they're at their worst.
And there's a few things on this. First of all, I'll agree with what you said at the end there. I don't know if I've mentioned this to you in the past, but one of my analysis tools, lenses that I use in Counter-Strike is I don't care what your form is in the group stage. Unless the match is tomorrow, as long as there's a few days off, the group stage is just about surviving to the playoffs, then the real tournament begins. So in my opinion, you're never 100% of the group stage. By the way, sometimes it's not even good to be 100% of the group stage. Like the joke is, the people who might have already blown their beans is fucking anyone's legend. Maybe now they're just ass in the bracket. Who knows, right? So I don't care. I'll tell you right now, as bad as T1 has played, they're the last team anyone wanted to see come from that 2-2 game. Because the second they get into that bracket, anything's possible now, mate. It wasn't before. They could have gone out, but they could have even lost 100 Thieves and gone out the tournament, mate. They were at elimination point. That wasn't even totally implausible. But now that they're in the bracket, you've seen this story before, right? Yeah, I don't think it's as good as the team with Zeus. But I think of two things in the past. I think every single time the bracket began, those last 3 worlds, Carrier does something with his support pool that no one can match. It changes the tournament. I think Faker, I've seen this story too. Faker looks like he can't bloody play any champions. And it's like, he doesn't have to. He gets 2.5 champions, or he picks someone that's not even the best meta champion that does something with its kit. And because he's Faker, he's the most reliable clutch player in the history of the fucking game, even at this stage. You just know that if everyone gets nervous and he's on a champion like a Galio that he can do somewhere, then there's a chance. There's a possibility he will make the hero play call where he pulls the trigger, probably also the best at pulling the trigger without thinking about it, and he'll make something happen. But the difference is, this time around, though, I've never seen this many red flags, bro. I'll run down a few of them for you. Right? First of all, even though he's played really well, I actually think, in some of the group stage games, Faker's champion pool still looks really scary in a BO5, mate. But for him, I'm so worried as to what comps they can make with what he can actually play. Because if you think about it, right, sure, they got the easier side of the bracket, but it starts with anyone's legend. Mate, I saw this team could have beaten them at fucking MSI, mate. They did beat them at the EWC. That's a really dangerous opponent for Faker to play if that goes all 5 games. Neither team's going to 3-0 that, in my opinion. Then you go down, the Carrier one explains itself. Thorin has the most pressure on his shoulders of anyone. If they don't win, a fan in history won't look at the game. They'll go, it's because Zeus left. They won't think it's because of what else happened. And then lastly, I'll just throw it out there. Gumayushi's been all right at times, I guess, but he was another player. We have to have that question. What happens in game 5? What do you pick, Gumayushi? Because I tell you what, if they ever waste a target ban on you, I don't know that you can make it to game 5. So I also feel like, look, the good news if you're T1 is you got the easy side of the bracket. You got about the only bracket I could ever conceive of where I could see you making the final. I don't think it's impossible. But I'll tell you what, even so, if we're going to make some predictions in 10 minutes and a half from now, I'm going to take the L to beat them, mate. I think it's going to happen. So where are you at on that aspect, T1 in the playoffs?
It's I think everything that we've seen, the whole group stage is screaming that AL should beat T1. The whole, the only thing and the main thing that makes me skeptical is just the time. I think the time is a curse for anyone's legend, and it's a big blessing for T1. They get so much time off after playing a 3-2 that they get to basically wait for quarterfinals a full week. I think T1 is capable of just coming in to a BO5, digesting who the enemy team is, and really just look completely different. That's where my imagination just goes. And we've had enough history now with the 3-0s that always the teams that come out of 3-0s, it's a small sample size, but a meaningful one in the sense that the contrast between how good the team should be that went 3-0 in contrast to how they played in their first quarterfinals match. Obviously, in 23, we had Genji losing to Bilibili. That was Chovy versus Yagao. That gets memed on a daily. We had JDG versus KT. KT was not that good at that World Championship, and somehow those games looked close. JDG didn't look like the best team in the world that they were at the time after the year that they had. And in 24, we had Genji almost losing to FlyQuest. FlyQuest made a whole damn career on that series when they almost lost to FlyQuest. And we had LNG on the other side with 3-0 losing to Weibo Gaming that, of course, made all the way the run-up to I think in semis they lost, right? So with that being said, that just makes me so nervous. It's like everything says AO should win based on group stage, but I think that the dynamic of beating T1 in a BO5 and that break, I think that is just going to change everything. Because I think moving different venue, moving different circumstance is going to be like the best thing for T1. And I have a hard time believing still, even though I think Tarzan has been mega, Kyle is looking like he's playing really good. Flandre fits in this meta super, super well. And I think, in an ideal world, I would love to see AL and Genji do the runs all the way to the finals, and we have like an LPL versus LCK finals. I do think that if I had a gun to my head, because that's how you would have to force an answer out of me, I do think that beating T1 in the best of 5 in this stage with the circumstance of the logistics will be still difficult. But I am fully on board with the idea that there's never been this many red flags, because there was that record that they pointed to that they have never lost more than one game. Yep. Never lost more than one game in their qualification. So that goes back to the group stages of past formats, and also of course the Swiss, where they always went out on 3-1. So definitely it's worse than ever, and maybe the tangibles are also at the same time less worth in this moment, and eventually the intangibles run out,
Yes.
And maybe this is an easy 3-0 for AL, right?
Oh, mate, there's a famous quote. I think it was by Isaiah Thomas, the point guard of the Detroit Pistons from the 80s, where he said something like, at the highest level of the sport, like in the NBA finals, it's more about will than skill, because it's like UFC fights. Mate, how many times does a challenger knock everyone and submit everyone, go to the title fight, and look so nervous in round 4? And shut down, and they can't fight, and it's almost like the hands don't move anymore, and the champion's not even fighting that well, but he's just a champion, bro, and he guts it out, and he gets that win, and you learn, there's another level to this shit. Like you say, when the game's at the highest level, silly things like the intangibles, who's more clutch, who believes they come up, they're real. I'm not in a silly Ashley Kang meme, like those who make history are those who try to make history, like, holy shit, this fortune cookie, bro. This is crazy shit, man. Like, not that. I mean, for real, like actual philosophy. No, but more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content. Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.